Starting over in New Zealand changed the way we see little things. In this video, we're taking you with us to Marine Parade in Napier, where a simple family walk becomes another memory in the life we're building here. But before we show you around, let me tell you a little bit about us. Hi, I'm Marvy, and this is my family. We're a Filipino family building a new life here in New Zealand. And through Marvy and Z, we share our family adventures, the places we discover, and the real experiences behind starting over in a new country. And honestly, our story didn't begin when we arrived here, it started years before that. Before New Zealand, we spent around 7 or 8 years living in Cebu, and honestly, we were content. We had built a comfortable life there. We had our routines, our work, our friends, and places we were familiar with. We weren't necessarily looking for a completely different life, but then Typhoon Odette happened, and suddenly everything changed. We had to leave Cebu and move to Glenn's place, and from there we moved again to my place, and eventually we found ourselves in Manila. There were moments when it felt like we were constantly packing our things, moving from one place to another, and trying to figure out what would happen next. At that time, we didn't know where all of these changes were going to take us. We certainly didn't know that eventually we'd be leaving the Philippines and starting again in New Zealand. Starting over here wasn't always easy. There were disappointments and there were plans that didn't work out. There were moments when we questioned ourselves and wondered if we were making the right decisions. But somewhere along the way, we learned something important. When life changes your plans, you don't have to spend all your energy wishing things were the way they used to be. You can start again, you can build a new normal, and you can take the new step even when you don't know exactly where it's going to lead. Maybe you're going through your own difficult season right now. Maybe something you planned didn't work out. Maybe you're starting over, or maybe you feel like you're already too far behind. If that's you, remember this: starting over doesn't mean you're starting from zero. You bring everything you learned, everything you've survived, and everything you've become with you. And sometimes you don't realize how far you've come until you stop and look around. And today, we're here at Marine Parade in Napier. This is actually more than just a beautiful waterfront. Marine Parade stretches for around 3 kilometers along the Napier coastline, and it's one of those places where you can actually see how much history is connected to this city. And what's interesting is that Marine Parade we see today was shaped by one of the biggest disasters in New Zealand's history. I've read on Google that on the 3rd of February 1931, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck Hawke's Bay, and this earthquake dramatically changed the landscape around Napier, raising parts of the land by as much as around 2.7 meters. And after the earthquake, rubble from buildings that were destroyed was used to help reclaim and develop parts of the foreshore. And so, when you're walking around Marine Parade today, you're not just looking at the waterfront, you're looking at the place that was rebuilt after a disaster. And I think that's pretty amazing. And honestly, this is one of those places where you don't really need a big plan. You just walk, look around, enjoy the view, and spend time together. And these are the kinds of moments we've learned to appreciate more. Because when you've experienced seasons where life felt uncertain, you start to realize that not every meaningful moment has to be something big. Sometimes it's simply being together. And Marine Parade is a perfect example of that. You can spend time by the water, walk along the coastline, enjoy the gardens, explore the different attractions, or simply sit down and take in the view. We're still discovering Hawke's Bay, so I'm sure there's probably more to Marine Parade than what we managed to see today. So if you've been here, let us know in the comments what did we miss or what should we do or explore next time. For us today, it's just a simple family adventure, but it's also another reminder that this is the life we're building now. I think there's something even more meaningful about Marine Parade when you know its history. It's a place that was devastated by an earthquake, was rebuilt into something people could enjoy again. And maybe that's why being here feels a little more personal for us because our journey has also involved rebuilding. We've had to leave places we were comfortable in. We've had to move, adjust, and to make this difficult decisions, and we'd have to start again. Standing here, it's funny to think about how many times we've had to start over from the Philippines and eventually to New Zealand. At the time, some of those changes felt like setbacks, but looking back now, maybe they were simply part of our journey. Because if we had stayed exactly where we were, we wouldn't have experienced the life we were living now. We wouldn't be standing here, have discovered these places, and have these memories with our family. And that's something I've learned about starting over. You don't always understand the journey while you're living it. Sometimes you only see the bigger picture when you look back, and maybe rebuilding doesn't always mean trying to recreate exactly what you had before. Sometimes rebuilding means creating something completely new. A new home, a new routine, a new chapter, and a new version of life. And that's what we're doing here in New Zealand. So, if you're currently in a season where things aren't going according to plan, don't be too hard on yourself. You don't need to have everything figured out. Just take the next step because a new chapter doesn't always begin with a huge breakthrough. Sometimes it begins with something really small. You have to make a decision, a change, a new place, or simply deciding to keep going. For us today, it was a walk along Marine Parade, just another simple family adventure. But maybe years from now, we'll look back at this video and realize this was another little moment that became part of our story. And maybe that's what life is really about. Not waiting for everything to be perfect before we appreciate where we are, but learning to appreciate the little moments while we're still building the bigger picture. And thank you for coming along with us. We'll see you in the next adventure. This is Marvi Inzi. Bye and stay kind.